Thanks, Sean. The official call to the 73rd annual meeting of the Association of Vermont Credit Unions was sent via electronic mail to all member credit unions on September 4th, 2020. The Credentials Committee reports that there are 12 member credit unions present for a total of 24 votes.
Thank you, Rick. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the general rules of order as published and provided in your delegate packet.
You have
a motion from John Dwyer, New England Federal Credit Union. Sorry, yeah, that's fine. And a second from Sue Leonard at New England Federal Credit Union.
Thank you. Now, please indicate if you are in favor or opposed to this motion through the use of the polling box on your screen.
We've got a few people still voting, but it looks like we have gotten most of who's going to vote. So we'll end the polling now and share the results, and it is all in favor.
Great, thank you, Joe. The motion has passed. Joe, just a side note, when I tried to vote on that, it mentioned the panelists could not vote, so I don't know if that's something you could change or not.
I will try to, otherwise we'll have a special poll for the panelists.
I'd now like to introduce the association's board of directors. Carrie Allen, Vice Chair, Heritage Family Federal Credit Union. Jeff Morse, Treasurer, River Valley Credit Union. Rick Hummel, Secretary, Vermont State Employees Credit Union. Director Greg Hard, New England Federal Credit Union. Director Lisa Heyer, North Country Federal Credit Union. Director Brett Smith, One Credit Union. I'd also like to introduce Richard Brock from the Association's Legal Counsel of Brock & Brock and appoint Mr. Brock as parliamentarian for our business meeting today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
I'd also like to thank the association staff members who are participating in today's meeting for all of their outstanding service that they provide to member credit unions during the year. And I'm appointing Mary Robert as our recording secretary for the minutes of this meeting and recognizing the association staff members, Jen Malru and John Cody, for serving as our credentials committee today. The minutes of the 72nd annual meeting have been published and provided in your delegate packets. I will entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of these minutes and accept them as published.
We have a motion from Kevin Loso, Heritage Family Credit Union. And a second from Tracy Hill, Vermont VA Federal Credit Union.
Thank you. Now please indicate whether you're in favor or not on the poll.
And we'll end the polling, and the results are all in favor.
Thank you. Motion is passed. Is there any new business to be conducted at this meeting? Hearing none, and given that there is no old business from last year's meeting, we'll move on to elections. The final report of the nominating committee has been published and was provided in your delegates packet. I'd like to recognize and thank Committee Chair Lisa Heyer and members Wanda Dunham of White River Credit Union and Bob Blake of Green Mountain Credit Union for their service to the committee. No petition requests to add candidates to the ballot were received. As a result, the slate of candidates presented in the committee's report remains. Carrie Allen, Heritage Family Federal Credit Union. Jean Giard, Vermont Federal Credit Union. and Brett Smith, 1 credit union. As there are 3 expiring positions and 3 candidates, I declare Carrie, Jean, and Brett elected by acclamation. Congratulations to you all. I'd also like to thank and recognize outgoing director Jeff Morse for his more than 13 years of service to the association board. During his tenure on the board, Jeff has remained diligent in his efforts to support Vermont credit unions of all different sizes, and his insight and contributions have been incredibly valuable to both the board and the association team. Thank you very much, Jeff. Your service will be missed.
Thank you, Sean. I've really enjoyed my time, and I wish everybody great success on the board. Thank you.
Before I call upon President Bergeron for his comments, I'd like to sincerely thank Joe and his team for their extraordinary efforts and support they've provided each of us and our credit unions, in particular during the last 7 months. Joe and his team have been a tremendous resource, helping us navigate through COVID-19 and the challenges it has provided. The combination of emails, Zoom meetings, and the relentless effort of answering questions, providing support and resources has truly been outstanding. Thank you again, Joe, and I would now ask that you provide a few comments for us today.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I greatly appreciate those comments, as do all of my colleagues on staff. They're all doing a great job, and like everyone else on the line in Vermont credit unions, everyone's working. Even when you're working remotely, it seems like it'd be easier, but it's longer hours for most of us and more to do, and it just means that you have more time without the travel to do more things. So it's keeping all of us very busy, even though we're all remote these days. And let me also echo Sean's congratulations or appreciation rather, to Jeff for his 13 years of service on the association board. Most of those years as treasurer. He's been a big help to us as treasurer, very supportive, a great board member in my estimation, and your involvement, Jeff, will sorely be missed. But we also want to congratulate Jean Giard on her election to this board of directors. She'll be a great addition, contributes to our diversity on the board of directors, and is well experienced with Vermont credit unions, and is going to make a lot of great contributions too, I'm sure. So thank you to both of you. I'm not going to give a report per se, except to share with you just a few thoughts. As Chairman Gaiman has noted, it's times like this, these past coming up on 7 months now of dealing with COVID-19, that I think that any trade association, whether it be our small Vermont Trade Association for credit unions, or whether it be some other form of business association for Chamber of Commerce or attorneys or what have you, these are the kinds of times when you should be shining as a trade association in terms of sharing of information and doing events like this and so on and so forth. And I think that, truthfully, because if we don't toot our own horn, nobody else does, right? That we are actually doing better in times like this as far as service to credit unions than we have in normal times before. Not that there was, in my estimation, shortcomings or anything. It's just that there is so much going on that impacts credit unions and the consumers that you all serve. And you're all doing such a great job in your day-to-day jobs in your credit unions serving Vermont consumers. I think that we've been trying to go above and beyond to what extent that we can. Of course, there's limitations. Everything is not smooth. Everything is not perfect, as exhibited by this Zoom gathering today. It's times like this where I feel like we're a lot more effective and getting a lot more participation, for example, in events like this, and the session that you just heard with Mark and Chuck, than we do in person sometimes. So kudos to all of my colleagues in the association for all the work that they're doing to help make this stuff happen. And thanks to all of Vermont credit unions for the confidence that you have in us and the participation and the phone calls and communications that we get, just asking for information or support or whatever else. It's been heartening, and it's what keeps us going. As I mentioned, we've been working remotely, like many of you, since the middle of March, going into the office from time to time. Last week, we had everybody in for 1 day a week each, and we'll do that from time to time. Somebody goes in periodically to check things and get mail and so on and so forth. But as a normal course of business, we're not all in the office at the same time, and I don't foresee that happening for some period of time as of yet. But we've overcome the limitations of working remotely, and I think if you asked any one of my colleagues in the office, they'd all agree that things are going very, very well for us, as I hope they are for all of you. Watching credit unions and what you have all done for your members, for consumers over the past 7 months, through the data gathering that we've done and that CUNA has done, trying to tally, what credit unions have been doing tangibly for consumers, really is heartening and really makes us in the association virtual office proud to be working for Vermont credit unions. It was before this pandemic really took hold that in a small state like Vermont, I think our numbers were something like 385,000, 390,000 members of the 19 credit unions in the state, $45 to $50 million, and that you all keep in those consumers' pockets through better rates and fees. 12 to 1,300 jobs between all of you, the employees that you have providing all those services. And when CUNA Economics and Research tallies it up for us, we come up, well over, at the time, well over $500 million that Vermont credit unions contribute to the Vermont economy. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's significant, and it's important. And it's numbers like that that help us in our advocacy role with Vermont legislators to keep them aware of how important Vermont credit unions are and how they need to be thinking of Vermont credit unions in the forefront of their minds when they're working on legislation. There's as good as all of that is, and I'm sure all of those numbers are much greater now than they were 7 months ago. As good as all that is, and this is the part where I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, because you're all aware of this by virtue of the fact that you're participating in this meeting. But I'm fortunate to be able to be involved with my counterparts that meet regularly, and there's this committee that I chair that monitors what's going on at the state level in all different states, both regulation-wise and legislatively, and tries to detect patterns and identify what we can do as a system to make sure that we don't get caught off guard. And there's one thing that I think has all of us on alert that we haven't encountered before, and that's that the possibility that the issue or the question of taxation of credit unions raises its head in the next legislative sessions that we all have at the state level. And it won't be, as we've said so many times before, because the bankers are mounting an attack or anything like that. It will be because of a new enemy, and that's this pandemic that we're all dealing with and its effect on state governments. And there are so many state governments that are looking at so many fiscal shortfalls that they're going to take a look at their tax expenditures, as they do in Vermont every 2 years, looking at the list of tax expenditures, and credit unions are listed on there. What are the taxes that the state would collect from credit unions if they were taxed? And we're fortunate to have a strong position with Vermont legislators, and it doesn't hurt that most of them are members of Vermont credit unions and think well of their credit unions. But when they're facing bigger shortfalls than they've ever seen before, who knows? In some state, maybe not Vermont, maybe someplace else, but in some state, somebody is going to come to the conclusion that, hey, everybody needs to do their part and guff it up, and we all need to support state government and do our part and pay our fair share to get things back to whatever their estimation of normal is going to be. And that is, the biggest challenge that I think that credit unions potentially face as we work our way as an economy out of this recession that we're currently in, that we're going to be recuperating from for a while to come. It's going to be a long, slow, slogging road, uphill road. And it only takes, one state for something like that to get a hold in, and then it will, I don't know if it'll be like dominoes, but it sets an example for every other state. And that's, my biggest concern legislatively. We deal with, consumer protection issues that may or may not be, operationally good for credit unions and so on and so forth. And we deal with all that kind of stuff all of the time. But this will be a new issue for us and for our counterparts throughout the country and for CUNA too. So we're keeping a very, very close eye on that, and hope that all of you will come to our assistance when the need be. And that brings me to the point where we're the only organization in Vermont, and the same thing for our sister organizations in every state, that are working for credit unions to prevent that sort of thing from happening. In everything else that we do, whether it's in EFT, like I was referencing earlier, education sessions, events like this that we're doing today, whatever it may be, there are alternatives for credit unions in those areas, but there is nobody else vying to represent credit unions and protect credit unions and advance credit unions in state houses around the country and in Congress. We're the only organizations that do that. And I'm reminded of that every day because there's nobody knocking on your doors vying for that. So anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. That's the end of my thought process, but I just wanted to share that with you because that's what at the forefront of my mind, during these challenging times. And, I know you're all going to be concerned about, or are concerned about budgets looking into 2021 and whatnot, as are we. But there's this extra factor looming in the background here that I just wanted to alert everyone to, and that's where our focus is. And this afternoon at 4 o'clock after this meeting, we're going to have Adam, our chief lobbyist, and John McKechnie, a well-known credit union advocate inside the Beltway in DC, former CUNA chief lobbyist, that are going to be talking about the elections, and not about what that outcome may be necessarily, but how those possible outcomes may impact what will happen in our Vermont State House with regard to credit unions and in Congress with regard to credit unions going forward. And I think that's going to be a very interesting conversation. So anyway, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I've already again brought us beyond any possibility for the shortest annual business meeting that we've ever had. So I've fulfilled my duty to not let you get away with the shortest business meeting. So thank you again to all of you board members for your support, because you're the ones that I see on the screen right now, and to all of the participants in this meeting and Vermont Credit Unions for their support and membership year after year.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you again. I think you're in your 42nd year of service to the association, so again, thank you for that. We encourage you to review all the available reports that have been published and made available to you in your delegate package. The association's website is also a great reference for Vermont credit union data throughout the year. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to dispense with further reports and accept them as published.
Motion by Tracy Hill, Vermont VA Federal Credit Union. Second from Rob Miller, VSECU.
Thank you. Please indicate yes or no. Motion has passed. Thank you. Thank you for participating in today's meeting. On behalf of the entire board of directors, I'd like to thank Chuck Fagan and Mark Zibright for their insightful discussion earlier this afternoon. And again, please join us at 4 o'clock today for our final presentation. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Tracy Hill, Vermont VA Federal Credit Union. Second from Kevin Loso, Heritage Family Credit Union.
Please indicate yes or no for passage of the motion.
Have you ever seen this vote go no? Has anybody said, no, I don't want to adjourn the meeting?
I think we're going to see one no now, Joe.
Okay, just as a test.
Unanimous. Great, thank you. The motion has passed. Thank you all. The 73rd annual meeting of the Association of Vermont Credit Unions now stands adjourned.